Hola amigos, and welcome back to my channel and to my garden. The rain has stopped, so I have been able to come out and film out here, which is lovely. If you haven't been to my channel before, my name is Emma Bennet. I'm a UK based writer. I write contemporary romance, children's picture books and non-fiction books for authors as of the last month. I am also a writing coach and a freelance developmental editor. But today I wanted to chat to you about one of my absolute favourite things to do during the month of Preptober, and that is reading writing craft or productivity books, or rather rereading in the case of all the books that I'm going to share with you today. So if you don't know what Preptober is, it relates to NaNoWriMo. NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month, and it's a challenge which takes place every November in the writing community, and writers attempt to write a 50,000 word first draft of a novel in just 30 days. Yeah, it's a little bit crazy, which is why we have Preptober, which is what we call October, which is when we spend our time prepping our novels. So that's what I have been doing this month. I'm going to be writing my Christmas book for next year during NaNoWriMo. At the moment, the working title is A Scottish Christmas, and I am really enjoying working on it. But aside from plotting out your book, there are many other things that you can do during Preptober to set yourself up for NaNoWriMo's success. And that is regardless of whether you like to plot everything out like I do, or whether you like to fly by the seat of your pants, or whether you're somewhere in between. These are books that I think any kind of writer can get a little bit of something from, which is why I like to reread them pretty frequently, actually. Most of these, they're all, I've got you the creme de la creme. Okay, these are the really good books. So you probably won't be surprised by the first one, and this is kind of the only longish book here, and it is Save the Cat, Write a Novel. So if you've never heard of this, like, where have you been? But basically it is a series of breaking down how to tell a story using story beats, and it is based on a screenwriting method, and it is fantastic. This really works for me, and I love it. I use it all the time now. I only discovered it a couple of years ago, so honestly I wrote quite a few books without it, but I do find it very helpful, and it forms a framework for my novels, which is very useful. So this is a book that I recommend, but I'm not necessarily saying that you need to use these particular beats. There are different methods of breaking down stories into beats, or whatever you like to call them. This is one that works for me, but basically my point is, get yourself a guide such as this, even if you do not plot, if you like to be a discovery writer, or whatever you'd like to call it, because even if you're not going to sit down and break your story down into these beats, it is really useful to know how stories work, to understand the peaks and troughs, how it ebbs and flows, to know how to write a character arc, and all those things that go into writing a book. If you know the logistics of how they work, you will find it much easier to write your book, regardless if you sit down and you kind of plot it out very carefully using beats. It doesn't matter. It's just a really useful thing to know. Anyway, that is my first recommendation. That's the one that will probably take you longest to go through. The one that will take you the kind of second longest amount of time is probably this one. Now, I've recommended this book a few times on my channel because it is just so good. So it's called Understanding, Show, Don't Tell, and Really Getting It by Janice Hardy. So showing rather than telling is something that I think a lot of us authors struggle with. I definitely do. And this guide is just absolutely fantastic. Janice Hardy gives so many different examples and so many exercises that you can work through to really help you to understand the difference between showing and telling with your writing, and to be able to pick it out in your own writing, and how to change things up if you want to change a passage which is told in a very telling way, and you would rather have it shown because you think that that will make the reader more engaged with your work. It's a very practical book. There really is a lot that you can do to go along with this, which is why I say that it might take you a little while to actually make your way through this. It's not that it's a particularly long book, it's just that there's quite a lot that you can do while you are reading it. Next is 2,000 to 10,000, How to Write Faster, Write Better and Write More of What You Love. And this is by Rachel Aaron. I do like this book, but again, much like the Save the Cat, I'm not necessarily saying that it is this book that you need to read, but a book on ways of plotting and drafting faster could be something that would be really useful for you to go over before you start NaNoWriMo. I'm not naturally a very fast writer. Typically 1,000 words a day I'm happy with, and I would call that a good writing day. But obviously that is just not going to cut it for NaNoWriMo. So last year when I was beginning my first NaNoWriMo, I really had to look into strategies to help me to get higher word counts. I can't imagine that I'll ever be writing 10,000 words a day, but if I can manage 2,500 or 3,000, I am more than happy with that, and that will mean that I succeed in NaNoWriMo, hopefully. So yeah, often this kind of book as well has very nice sections on getting into the right headspace as well for writing and having the right mindset. So I find that very useful as well. What I would suggest is that you use a book like this one, or there are several. Chris Fox also has a very good one, which I'm going to be talking about in a video next week, I believe. But a book like this used alongside something like Save the Cat can be really useful, because you can learn how to break your story down into chunks so that it creates a book that people want to read, so that it flows correctly, so that you're hitting all of those plot points, and so that you are able to draft quickly because you know what you need to hit next in your writing as you are writing very quickly during NaNoWriMo. Because what you don't want to happen is for you to be going along really well for kind of the first 10 days, and then day 11 hits and you don't know what you need to write next, and you get stuck trying to work out, what do I want? Do I want an inciting incident? Do I want there to be some kind of conflict? You know, what do I want in this story? If you've got the story beats, then you're like, okay, so now I know that at this point in a story, for the story to work, this is perhaps the line that I need to be following, and that can really, really help you to get back on track and make sure that you are hitting those word counts every day. The next book that I will recommend is Productivity for Authors by Joanna Penn. So again, this is a pretty small book, but there's a lot in this really, really useful stuff to help you set yourself up for success. Again, getting into the right mindset and making sure that you know things like when you write best and where you write best, and making the most of the time that you have to write. So if you only have 1 hour a day to write, Joanna Penn is really good at giving suggestions about how to make the absolute most of that hour. Because, you know, we don't all have hours and hours every day during November to be able to just write for as long as we want and for as long as it takes the words to come. That would be very nice, but it really isn't the case for most people. So something like this can be really, really useful. Again, highly recommended. And then the final book is a little bit cheeky, but I think it's good. So this is my book, which came out, what are we talking, like nearly 2 weeks ago, I think, when this video comes out. So it is called Write, Eat, Sleep, Repeat, 30 Days, 5,000 Words, How to Win NaNoWriMo. So again, it's just a little book. It's not even really a book. I call it my bow, but it is absolutely packed full of tips and tricks to help you to win NaNoWriMo. Now, this is not just from me. Lots of awesome writers who have been successful at NaNoWriMo as well wrote into me, which was wonderful, and I have included all of their suggestions as well in the back of the book. It's got a whole section about Preptober and how to use that time to set yourself up for success, as well as practical things like how to set up your account on the NaNoWriMo website, and stuff about clearing your schedule, and suggestions of how you can do that for NaNoWriMo, as well as how to get back on track if you get behind with NaNoWriMo. So much information in this little tiny book, and I really hope that it is useful to people. There's lots of information that I condensed to make this book. I was very nervous when I was attempting my first NaNoWriMo last year because, as I said, I don't do big word days. So I spent a crazy amount of time doing all kinds of research into the best ways to tackle NaNoWriMo. And basically, I took all of that research and condensed it into that. So, yeah. Thank you so much for joining me for this video today. I really hope that you liked my suggestions. If reading craft or kind of productivity books is something that you really like to do during Preptober as well, and if you have got any suggestions that I haven't mentioned, please put them down in the comments below, because I absolutely love reading books like that, and I am always on the lookout for new ones. I would also love to know what you're going to be working on for NaNoWriMo if you are going to be attempting it this year. I am on the NaNoWriMo website. I'm something like Emma Bennet or Emma Bennet writer, Emma Bennet author, something like that, but my picture is on there, so it should be quite easy to find me if you would like to be buddies. And I'll be back very soon with another video, and I will catch you in that next one.